luck to all three teams.
Welcome inside the John Book Fieldhouse on the Concordia University Wisconsin campus in Mequon. Wrapping up day 2 of the 2024 NCATA Division III tournament. Our final competition on this Friday, a tri-meet, as we have East Texas Baptist University, the Tigers, a number 4 seed, taking on a number 7 seed, the Buffalo State University Bengals, and the 6th-seeded Stevenson University Mustangs. All that and more as we continue on the Falcon Athletic Network. Once again, a very pleasant good evening alongside former Concordia, Wisconsin acrobatics and tumbling athlete Jesse Alexander. My name is Matt Menzel. What can we expect in a tri-meet?
So, tri-meets are extra fun. You get to see so many different skills from all of the athletes that we have here. I'm really excited to see what each team is bringing to the mat today.
And again, for all three of these programs, looking to bounce back after quarterfinal losses yesterday. For East Texas Baptist, they fell against Texas Lutheran. Buffalo State fell to Trine, and then at Stevenson, losing to Concordia, Wisconsin. Our championship matchup, by the way, is set for a second consecutive year in the NCATA Division III tournament. It will be Mary Hardin Baylor against Trine. The crew of Mary Hardin Baylor, the defending team champs, but you and I touched on it a little bit yesterday, is the fact that for all three of these teams competing for a second consecutive day, not something they're accustomed to. Usually get that week off, but in this case, a quick turnaround.
Yeah, being able to compete twice, day after day, is something that's really hard on your body. So I give a lot of props to all these athletes here for being able to do it and, facing it head on. It's going to be a great competition.
We'll make some adjustments as we go along as Buffalo State, a couple of heats, they will have no activity, and then as far as the team event goes, much like yesterday, we will see a team event, but it will not count or affect their score per se, as it will be an exhibition. We'll see the Buffalo State Bengals up first here in the compulsory event. Acro heat with a start value of 10. And again, the top for the Bengals, a sophomore in Lucy Ingro. Nice start here for Buffalo State. Nice job able to hold the pose there for Lucy Ingro. So a great start here for the Bengals here in the Acro heat. But one of the unique things about these tri-meets, too, is there's downtime. We've talked all about how you got to get used to the downtime with the scoring and whatnot. But now you have another team on top of it all. So a lengthier break for a number of these athletes.
Yes, indeed. It's something that you got to be smart about with your time on the side of the mat. You want to be able to create more energy as you go through the meet. You want to have your teammates there, your coaches there to hype you up. You want to do everything you can to have those downtimes not be a dead stop for you.
It's one of those meets in which you have to bring your own energy as well. Got some friends and family in the stands, some of the other teams that have been here in the stands as well. But again, you have to look to that sideline for some of the energy from your teammates, perhaps from the other teams trying to pump that encouragement. And again, as has been the case throughout the course of these 2 days, with the video board in full force, Buffalo State reliving the Acro heats. Start values 10 across the board here in the 4 heats of the compulsory event. We'll see Stevenson and East Texas Baptist as well. Yesterday for Buffalo State in their loss against Trine, got outscored 246.290 to 129.050. It's not make or break by any means, but we have seen already in the various team quarterfinals and semifinals, that compulsory event goes a long way in kind of determining how the rest of the meet may go.
It really does, and especially being the first team to go in a tri-meet, and you've got a long day of competing ahead of you, you really want to set the tone for how everyone else wants to do. You want to be able to make them nervous as they go out there after you. So great job by the Bengals out there. Excited to see what's next.
And we'll talk about it, too, as we go along. Buffalo State, a first-year program, and so they've gone through the typical inaugural season growing pains, but have made some great improvement from the start to the present and continuing to grow with a roster of 13 freshmen and an active roster of 16. Up next, the Mustangs of Stevenson University. Their acro heat. A look at Annabelle Rosso, their top. A sophomore from Maryland coming with a gymnastics background. Again, a smooth exchange. And Allison Ozimic, a base, the sophomore from Pennsylvania. Stevenson, the third-year program, with their acro heats.
I really like the energy they had coming on and off the mat there. I think they have a lot to be celebrating. They had a beautiful inversion hold, coming on off to a great landing, and then getting that full down from the arabesque all the way toes to the front. That's something that the judges are looking for. I think they did a great job there.
I feel like there's a different kind of pressure today for these three teams. No longer in the quarterfinal, semifinal format. You know this is going to be your last meet one way or another, and so from that standpoint, you want to go out with a bang.
Yeah, you really want to leave it all out there. You want to leave no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You want to go out there, do what you have been training to do, and you want to do it well.
Some of these athletes will still compete tomorrow night in the event finals. We'll talk about that as we go along as well. That will wrap up this NCATA Division III tournament at 7 p.m. Central Time on Saturday night. Adrian will be here as well, so all 8 Division III schools will be represented to wrap up the event. Finally, we will see East Texas Baptist. The Tigers have been around since 2019, and they have made some great strides. A program that won 3 meets a year ago. They brought back 15. They're participating in the NCATA Division III tournament for a second consecutive year. Last year beating Concordia, Wisconsin, falling against Trine. This year got upset by, I would venture to say, a blooming rival in Texas Lutheran. Texas Lutheran doing a great job in year number 2. They got better as well, and they held their own against Mary Hardin-Baylor earlier today in semifinal competition, but Mary Hardin-Baylor right now is on a whole nother planet when you look at the way they've been able to compete. They're number 5 in the entire nation. I mean, we're not just talking D3, but among all schools, number 5 in the entire nation. The first D3 school to ever crack the top 5 in the NCATA championship rankings.
Yeah, that is something to be extraordinarily proud of. I mean, putting D3 teams on the map like that is something that makes my heart happy to see us represented in that way, and I think they do it so well.
So here come the Tigers. They scored a 7.4 out of 10 in the acro heat yesterday against Texas Lutheran. Emma Levy and Jessica Coleman, the 2 tops here for the Tigers. You have Sasha Regan, a sophomore from Arlington, Texas, with counting. Wiegand among 9 sophomores for East Texas Baptist.
Great timing there.
Yeah, looking clean so far, East Texas Baptist. Able to maintain the balance. recovered nicely. And a good start here to the compulsory events. Mentioned a lot of downtime and probably an opportunity to overthink at times, maybe as you prepare for your next heat. If you're Buffalo State, get ready now for the Pyramid Heat. And we mentioned for all three of these teams, a different type of pressure, but they also have something to prove, I think. And for all three of these programs, they want to go out with a bang. They want to, as we mentioned, leave here and, okay, fine, they lost yesterday, whatever, move on. But they want to show that, they've made strides from the start of the season to now and continue to show that growth as they not only prepare for the future, but also try to continue to sell this program for perhaps future athletes.
Yeah, I think that's especially true having three relatively newer and younger teams on the mat here. And I say that in terms of how long the program has been with their respective schools. There's a lot of growing pains that come with being, the first few to be doing it for your school. So definitely a lot of growth we've seen for all of these teams, and there's a lot to be proud of to wrap up this season being here on this mat.
Well, coming up here for the Bengals, we will see Carmela Capizzi among those out there with Caitlin Wilhite, Adrian Gardner, Jackie Hayden, Cody Ryan, along with Guinevere Brickman, a freshman from New York. They will be competing in the Pyramid Heat here in the compulsory event. And again, a starting value of 10. One score so far in from the Acro Heat. That belongs to Buffalo State. They were awarded a 5.25. And for the Bengals, that's down slightly from where they were at yesterday in the Acro Heat against Trine. Nothing yet for Stevenson or East Texas Baptist. Always enjoy watching, and you and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and for the judges, they've been here all day. Mm-hmm. Does that affect their mood at all? And they're human, but at the same point, this is a big-time event. Mm-hmm. And so you may have a higher standard, and so you may see some of these scores come in and go, well, wait a minute. But you want to hold these teams to a higher standard, and I think these teams want to be held to a higher standard so they know there's room for growth.
I definitely agree. A long day takes a toll on everyone involved. They're human just like the rest of us. But I know that we have great judges here, lots of experience between all of them. So I trust what they write down, and I trust their scoring.
I was told that they will be working fast today. We'll see if that rings true, but I can tell you that Stevenson got a score of 6.175 in the Acro Heat, so currently awaiting the East Texas Baptist score, but they have the lead here in the Acro Heats.
Beautiful catches on those dismounts there.
So as we watched Buffalo State here in the Pyramid Heat, East Texas Baptist Acro Heat score came in with an 8.475. So right now the Tigers the lead through the first heat here in the compulsory event. Again, all these start values at 10. And up next will be Stevenson. They will come out. A couple of different groupings here in the pyramid. Annabelle Rosso with Mariana Ruiz, Jaden Jacobs, Trinity Poltrak. We have Marissa Werkheiser and Allison Ozimic for the one pyramid group. The other will consist of Alexis Fortier, Emma Bresnik, along with Kira Warner, Mackenzie Estes, Alexis Gross, and Robin Scroger with that gymnastics background, the sophomore base for the Mustangs. The other factor that we haven't touched on yet is when you talk about the youth of some of these programs, especially Buffalo State, yeah, they want to get better, but also a big part of what this season's been all about is helping these athletes better understand the sport, because a lot of them came in, yeah, they signed up to be part of the acrobatics and tumbling team, but not maybe 100% sure what they signed up for. So a lot of the first, number of weeks of practice, months here in meet competition has been just understanding the sport.
Yes, most definitely. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. acrobatics and tumbling is mainly at the collegiate level. There's so much to learn as you come, and each of these girls are trying something new. So to start something from ground zero, there is a lot of learning curves that everyone will need to go through. And balancing that along with talent and curating something that you can get out onto the mat is something to be extremely proud of in your younger years of having a program.
So here's Stevenson with the pyramid heat. Fortier and Rosso, the two tops for the Mustangs. You had the nice bounce back by Buffalo State. They end up scoring a 9.225 here in the pyramid heat. Stevenson looking to bounce back as well from the acro heat. And as we go along, and you know this, you have the acro heat, the pyramid heat, the toss heat, but that tumbling heat, when it comes to the compulsory event, tends to trick teams up and trip teams up. It's
really difficult to get a perfect score or very few deductions in a tumbling event. That is where there's so many things that can deviate from what a perfect score might be, just because tumbling is so individual to each person and how they go about throwing their skills, honestly, to say it. So there's just so much going on at one time. It's really easy to nitpick apart as a judge.
See the patience of East Texas Baptist awaiting their turn. They will come out in this pyramid heat with Sydney Job. You have Sasha Wiegand, Ellie Davis, Jaden Stroman, Hannah Donnelly, and Kaylin Williams. The one group. The other group will include Katie Melton, Brianna Brown, a veteran on this roster, the junior from Louisiana, Jessica Coleman with Mallory Golden, Kylie Davis, Meredith Griffin, and then Naomi Mays handling the counting responsibilities.
Next in the compulsory pyramid heat will be East Texas Baptist.
So the Tigers already with the lead through one heat here in the compulsory event. Up next with the pyramid heat. Strong catch there, too.
Yeah, Matt, you know what we would call that catch?
Saran wrap.
A Saran wrap catch.
We've been using that lingo throughout the course of this day. The Saran wrap has been there, and fine job there by the Tigers. They look sharp. They look ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how hard it is being the first team, but let's talk about how hard it is to be the third team, to go last after seeing two teams go before you, to keep that energy up, to see that those other teams are already done. They're almost like one step ahead of you because they're going to finish a little bit before you, too. You've got to push a little farther.
And I'm sure there's a little bit of disappointment as a number 4 seed. They were upset by again, blossoming rival in Texas Lutheran yesterday. So, again, they maybe have something to prove here, maybe not only to themselves, but to others that follow the Division III level here in acrobatics and tumbling as they wrap up their 6th season of existence.
I definitely think that at this point in the season, this point in the tournament, you're wanting to come out here. You're probably wanting to aim for a high score of your season because it's all about peaking at the right time. You want to end this out with a bang and do the best that you have done no matter what happened earlier in the tournament with any upset that happened there. So it's definitely something to prove to yourself. This is personal out there for some people.
And if you go by seeding, they would be the favorites. It's number 4 seed versus a 6 and a 7. So we'll see if that comes into play at all, too. We move on to the toss seat. First up, the Buffalo State Bengals. Also want to point out, too, the scores are coming a little bit quicker. Got the pyramid heat already for East Texas Baptist at 9.475, so a very strong start for the Tigers through the first couple of heats. But I mean, for these judges, they know what they're doing. They've done this the last 2 days, not to mention probably the number of years of experience. So they know what they're watching for. It's just a matter of putting pen to paper.
They do, and they have seen all of these teams before within the past day. So I think they know what to expect, and they're probably looking for improvements. They're probably looking for the same things that they saw deducted before. So this is the time where we talked about turning around, competing so quickly that you want to make sure you make those changes and you listen to the score sheet after you get feedback from it so that you can capitalize on what they were looking for, because they're going to be looking for it again.
Watching East Texas Baptist stay loose, they had to turn some of these meets into a dance competition, because we've seen some teams, they got some nice moves and some good rhythm.
Certainly so. Looking at the backgrounds of a lot of these athletes coming from dance, cheerleading, gymnastics, or anything of the likes, we've got some dancers out here, easy to say.
You can almost add a dance element. I know there can be some dance at times in a team event, but we're seeing a lot. And it's fun to see the energy level here. And you mentioned it earlier, but there's a different type of energy level from what we saw in the semis. It almost seemed, both teams in the semis we had in the two semis were having fun, but there was also perhaps a little bit of an intensity to it too, because there's a little more on the line. Here it's a little more laid back, and again, it's more of they're battling themselves, if you will. They want to better themselves. They want those high scores. At the end of the day, you're competing against two other schools, but
will be Stevenson.
Doesn't mean it as much.
No.
It's more of you're competing against yourself and just trying to finish this season strong.
It's going to be what you make it.
Very well put. In that toss seat, a 7.900 for Buffalo State. And again, here's Stevenson University. To the point there for the Mustangs. Also unique, all three of these programs, first-year head coaches. So on top of, in the case of Buffalo State being a brand-new program altogether, a couple other teams that are younger, you also have to make the adjustment in some cases to a brand-new head coach and getting used to what she brings to the table.
Yeah, definitely. From the perspective of getting to know your athletes, that's something a coach oftentimes has years to do. Whether it's 1, 2, all the way up to 4 years to get to know someone and what makes them perform to the best of their abilities. It's definitely a sticking point to have the first year with a team, and you're getting to know what works for everyone right on the fly as you're going through it. But I think these coaches are doing it well. We seem to have happy and healthy athletes out here. So props to all of our first-year coaches that we have here.
East Texas Baptist up next. Their first-year head coach is Berkeley McDonald. And she's a member of the team for 3 years from 2019 through 2022. Is also a member of the East Texas Baptist University cheer team. So a dual sport athlete. And that's kind of neat, too, is in many instances, we do have coaches that have, competed for their alma mater and now coaching at their school, and so they've given back in a different way and know a thing or two about the history of the program, and that's certainly the case with Berkeley McDonald, the Jacksonville, Texas native, helping this Tigers team. And for Texas Lutheran, a couple of wins this season. After winning 3 times last year, before that they had back-to-back winless campaigns, so going through some of the growing pains, but bringing back a lot of experience, adding a handful of newcomers and putting it all together. As the team's been able to find ways to succeed. They've had some great meets, which includes number 9+ scores, 6 of those in the various heats, most on the season, when they faced Mary Hardin Baylor back on the 26th of March. So again, the Tigers are up next. And here in this toss heat, we'll see Zoe Connor, Ellie Davis, Emily Blaylock, Meredith Griffin, Jessica Coleman. The other grouping with Brianna Brown, Katie Melton, Kylie Davis, Jordan Reeves, and Sydney Job, Naomi Mays, is doing the all-important counting. Extra long break here for the Bengals because they don't have a tumbling heat performance coming up, so they won't be out there again until we get to heat one of the acro events. In the toss heat, Stevenson scoring an 8.475. So wait now on the score here for East Texas Baptist, who's off to a great start here in the compulsory event. I don't know how you stay, and you would know better than anyone with such a long break. And now in this case, you have no heat coming up here. Just staying again engaged and staying in the moment, even though you're watching the other two teams compete time and time again.
I think this is one of the times where your coach comes in, and the importance of having your coach get everyone ready for what's coming up next. If that's what even the team might need, or it's getting everyone to keep their energy up, keep dancing, keep having fun. I know our coach would always have us look to what is coming next, but each team needs something different. So whatever works for your team and will keep the energy up and keep you guys smooth sailing for the rest of the meet, this is the time to do it.
I can't wait to see with Buffalo State what year number 2 looks like, because I think it's hard. Year 1, obviously we talked about it, you're building the roster, and in some cases a lot of these athletes aren't 100% sure what acrobatics tumbling is all about. Now you have something to sell. Now you have something to recruit to. Hey, this is what this is all about. Here's what happened in season number 1. As you try to grow that roster, they're at 16 right now for an active roster, roughly 19 within the program. I'd like to see that number get up near 25 or so, if possible, at Buffalo State for year number 2.
Yeah, I definitely think establishing yourself as a team is a great way to recruit, and having a first year go so successfully, seeing so many skills accumulated by this team. They're not easy to put together. You're teaching someone something entirely new each time that you're going out onto the mat. So I think that they have a great foundation to recruit and get their numbers up as years come.
Here is Stevenson now in the tumbling heat, and again a start value of 10. Annabelle Rosso with Mariana Ruiz, Trinity Poltrack, and Mackenzie Estes out there for the Mustangs. I would think this is the part where a number of teams get tripped up here in the tumbling heat. That landing. Nice job there by Stevenson.
Great job out there. I saw a lot of landings that were really strong, and we even had a couple sticks out of the layout there, so I think that was a really nice performance.
Do you get a little bit of a leeway? Because we've seen that when you stick the landing, sometimes you still a little bit of a little jolt, a little wobble. Do you get a little bit of a leeway there as you maintain your balance, or will they deduct you slightly for that?
I think you get a little bit of leeway, to my knowledge, but we want to see a clean stick. You almost want to make it so that there's no question about if it was a stick or not. So as strong as you can make the landing is really what you're looking for.
Note that East Texas Baptist scored an 8.575 in the toss heat, so 8.575, so 8.4 or better in each of the first 3 heats. For the Tigers, we're up next here in the tumbling heat to wrap up the compulsory event. As we await the score here for Stevenson. They had a 9.1 during the pyramid heats. Did you compete a lot in tri-meets?
Tri-meets are a kind of a rare sight to see in acro. I have competed in a few in my time here at Concordia, but I could honestly say probably about 3 or 4 throughout my whole time here. It's not something super common that you see. I think the dual meet setup oftentimes works best, where we have the 2 mats on the side. Then occasionally you will see a third mat placed along the back, but the meets just typically work out better as one-on-one, but tri-meets are becoming more consistent, more of a popular thing happening that I've been seeing.
I was going to say, you see it pop up more and more, as you mentioned, perhaps allowing teams to get more out of a lengthier trip. You go somewhere further away, and you get essentially 2 meets in one. But, ultimately to solve an issue here where you had all of a sudden an odd number of teams competing in the 2 days here at the NCATA D3 tournament and allow these teams to get more out of it. Why not? Okay, fine, you lose in the quarterfinal, but you got to be here for 3 days anyways. Why not get more out of it?
Yeah, especially since an acro season is so short compared to, if you were to take a football season in comparison. You have a lot less opportunities here, or even if you were to look at like a basketball season, you have a lot less opportunities to show what you've been working on the entire season. So a tri-meet gives athletes another way, another opportunity to show their skills and to compete again.
We'll wait. East Texas Baptist.
Tumbling heat will be East Texas Baptist.
Stevenson scored a 2 in that tumbling heat. And that goes to serve that point we mentioned, that when you look at this tumbling heat, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, legend has it. I think it is one of the hardest ones, hardest heats throughout the entirety of the meet. Once this is done, I take a big, deep breath.
A little bit of a stumble there in front. We'll see how that affects the East Texas Baptist score. But a strong finish.
Love the energy from the sidelines.
You're right, though. You tend to see lower scores in the tumbling heat, despite the fact most teams start off with that 10 for a starting value. But some teams are lucky to get half of that.
Very true, and especially with teams like this where you are not having the 8 starting out on the mat, that's going to bump you down to begin with. So each person less that you have is going to be a few more points off. So oftentimes for teams, you are already starting at a disadvantage, and then it is so easy to nitpick this apart. So it really is a difficult heat to hit the score sheets with. It just doesn't always come up in your favor.
Tell us about the Acro event. What's coming up next?
So Acro event, one of my favorites. So we're going to be seeing 2 to 3 people working together to do different skills, whether that's inversions or press extensions. We're going to see, like how we see on the screen here, people working in tandem to create skills that either are, like I said, inverted. A lot of twisting could be going on too. Little tuck offs, layout offs, full offs even for a dismount from shoulders. So I'm excited to see what we have going on here. It's a great opportunity for teams to show their creativity and skills that they've been working on.
And this is where we start to get the various start values that start to kick in. And we'll see that here in Heat 1, 5-element for Buffalo State. Long awaited opportunity to go back out there on the mat with a 9.15 start value. And Buffalo State yesterday against Trine ended up scoring an 8.350, one of their better heats in the Acro event. And the Bengals will come out in this first heat with Jackie Hayden, Adrian Gardner, Caitlin Wilhite, and Carmela Capizzi, a freshman from New York, with Lucy Ingro counting. I like how when you look at different events, you have different people counting. So we talk about the important role of counting, and it's not just one person that has all that weight on their shoulders, but there's a collection of athletes that they take their turns in handling making sure your teammates are in the same beat, same rhythm.
Yeah, and in practice, everyone becomes a counter at some point. You know, you're helping your teammates out, and oftentimes letting them take a breath so that you can take over the counting for them. They can just focus on what they're doing. It's a underrated, helpful thing. I think oftentimes it's overlooked, but as we talked about yesterday, there's a cadence to it.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a certain tempo that you need to upkeep. And
Scores are in for the
sometimes that's something that people really struggle with, but when you are really good at it, you will be asked over and over again to count.
Well, a tough tumbling heat for East Texas Baptist as well. They scored a 3.8. So
175.
overall, you look at the scores through the compulsory event. East Texas Baptist, a 30.325. Then Stevenson at 25.750. And again, Buffalo State without a tumbling heat. They might be the smartest of the three teams when you look at the scores. Not that far behind, though, in reality, at 22.350. They can certainly make that up in other areas, but more often than not, they get behind the 8 ball without having that tumbling heat, but that's not the case right now. So we'll see how things pan out here in the acro event.
In the tumbling heat, Stevenson 2.000.
And again, that's a tough couple of scores, but we've become accustomed to seeing that. That tumbling heat has not been easy for any of the schools that have been here.
That's one of those scores that you kind of have to, prepare yourself to be, knowing that a tumbling score isn't always going to be what you want it to be. It's not always going to reflect the effort that you put in. It's very dependent on how the judges want to see your tumbling. So it's one of those scores that you gotta hear it and keep going. It doesn't matter. You'll move on to the next thing.
And it's funny, when you get to the tumbling event, some of those scores start to skyrocket back up in the various passes.
Yeah, that's where you see people who can do what they are strongest at. So taking the tumbling and putting it into their own element rather than what is required.
So again, Heat 1, 5-element acro event. Buffalo State, 9.15 start value. Yeah, Jackie Hyden, speaking of tumbling, a strong tumbler for Buffalo State. Right now, the top for the Bengals. There's that inversion. Nice job. He will hold it for a good 3+ seconds. Not seeing much movement there, too. Nice job there by Jackie Hyden.
Yeah, that
good
was
balance.
That was really great to see. You could tell that the top's legs were glued together, pulling up through her toes to really extend that body position and get a great hold.
As the Bengals watch the replay, it's going to be Stevenson up next with a start value of 9.55. This program from Owings Mills, Maryland. Yesterday versus Concordia, Wisconsin, ended up scoring 23.60 in the acro event. They were 3.15 off their start value for the three heats combined. And their top heat was this first heat, the 5-element, in which they produced an 8.475. And Stevenson will come out. And in this first heat, we will see Annabelle Rosso with Mariana Ruiz. You have Robin Scroger and Jaden Jacobs counting. Wild how many of these names that we repeat event after event after event. And again, it's already busy enough meet for all of those individuals, let alone a very busy, what's become a tournament here in Mequon, Wisconsin. And in many cases, bodies still recovering from yesterday and maybe a little bit of pain, soreness today, but you got to find a way to just power through and mentally be strong.
Yeah, this is where we're really going to see athletes dig deep and find what motivates them most to go out there and do everything that they need to do. They need to rely on their technique and their training from their coach. So this is where you see a lot of athletes, dig deeper inside of themselves to make this happen.
So a 9.55 start value here for Stevenson, Heat 1, acro event. That comes after Buffalo State scored an 8.100 in Heat 1. Came just as Hillary Duff started to blast her song from the Lizzie McGuire movie, I think.
I don't think I've seen it.
There you go. There's a reference. Don't ask how I know, but yes.
Must be before my time.
Yeah, just a little bit. So Stevenson at 9.55 for a start value. East Texas Baptist with a start value at 9.70. I've been impressed so far with the Tigers and what we've seen from their athletes. Again, they came out of that compulsory event with the high score by nearly 5 points, better than Stevenson. And you can see some of that experience on display with the 15 returning from last year's 3-win team. You can see that they've been there, done that.
Yeah, they almost seem calm and confident today. There's a air of being relaxed around them, which is great to see today. So really excited to see what they put on for the rest of this acro event. I think they're going to be great.
And you would venture to guess at this point, okay, yesterday there was that newness. Yes, some of these teams practiced on Wednesday, but again, getting used to your surroundings here, what this venue is all about, how the sound travels, carries, where to look at various points. Okay, now it's day 2. As far as competition goes, you're probably a lot more comfortable than you were, say, yesterday. Again, for East Texas Baptist, they were the very first quarterfinal yesterday against Texas Lutheran. So, I mean, everybody was watching closely going, okay, what's this all about and how are these teams going to perform and how do we use what we watch with these teams and how do we get ourselves ready for our quarterfinal?
Yeah, it really sets the tone. Already being here once, doing it again, it's always easier the second time around.
Good recovery here for the Tigers.
Look at that height.
That with Jaden Stroman, the senior from Atlanta, Texas. Not quite the 3 seconds, but the best she could. And so East Texas Baptist there in heat number 1. Stevenson scored an 8.750. So that was their score in heat number 1. Did you ever get to pick out the music that plays during the course of a meet?
Yeah, we do. We actually always each year create a meet day playlist with the team where everyone throws on songs that they want to hear while they're out there, whatever relates to you and gets you motivated to do whatever you got to do. So
was it always upbeat, or were there some slower songs in there?
I think if anyone put a slow song on, we would remove that.
Veto?
Yeah. I guess there's a few that maybe we would be like, okay, who put this on here? But
well, you mentioned the country for the team event. You guys went country, last year?
Yeah, we did. We did. Everyone thought we were joking, and we were very serious. So that was partially a little inside joke between the seniors of joking around enough.
It absolutely worked.
To then do it. So, yeah, the music is a great source of energy for everybody. So it's good to see everyone getting excited with the songs that are playing, having little dances here and there. So it's great to have a great playlist.
A lot of sing-alongs as well. It helps, though, that most of these songs are probably, for these athletes in their age bracket, not to mention it's songs you probably hear on the radio time and time and time again, and they're easy to catch on to.
Yeah, they're songs that are pretty well liked all around, and even I know for Concordia, we would play this playlist during practice leading up to the meets to see, hey, is this fitting the vibe that we're wanting to create? Is this, carrying the energy that we need? And then so we tweak it after listening to it. So it's like we test run the playlist. There's a lot that goes into it.
and you probably go, whether it be to Adrian, Trine, some of those schools you visited, that's probably a very similar playlist, I'm guessing.
It sometimes is, but there's different places. It all has a little bit of their own flair to it, which is always great to see because it's like a little peek into the personality of the host team. So I love listening to what music each team decides to put on. I think like I said, it's just a great glimpse into the characters of the athletes on the team.
And I like that. We keep going around to the various mats and the various team sidelines, and you can always look and find at least one, if not two, that's either dancing and or singing along with whatever song is blasting over the loudspeaker. There's always one at least.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, right there on cue. Right there with Emily Blaylock, the freshman from Marshall, Texas. But like you said, that's just the character of these athletes, of these teams, the personalities. And yes, there's a seriousness about it, but they also know how to stay loose, stay engaged, and have fun with it.
And that's exactly what you want to see on a team. You always need that person. Everyone appreciates that person that gets everyone excited, gets people in the right mindset. If you're having, a little bit too much time overthinking, they pull you out of that and pull you back into reminding, this is fun, this is what we do. So we love having those personalities on the team, and we greatly appreciate how they get everyone going.
We move on now to heat number 2 in the sixth element of the acro event. As we still wait, here is East Texas Baptist score 8.35 in the first heat. In the second heat for Buffalo State, a start value 8.10. That gets me every time when you try to be synchronized. And again, from that sideways perspective where one of the athletes can see the back of the other athlete's head, but the athlete that's on the left side is looking at the other team's sidelines. So you just have to know that, hey, your team right behind you is in sync.
And here comes the importance of the counter, once again, to keep everybody on the same count so that even when you're looking at a wall and you can't see what's going on behind you, you're able to still know that you are doing the right thing at the right time. But also a bit of strategy comes in the person that's looking at the girl in front of her, knowing that if we need to slow something down a little bit, you can adjust to who's in front of you. You don't always have that when you're the typically the athlete on the left looking over to the wall.
We're going to add like not only a dance-off, but maybe a little karaoke off.
I think I would love that.
I mean, again, going from team sideline to team sideline, I don't even know what this song is, but obviously these athletes do.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, we could get it started right here. We've got the microphones.
You win.
Well, thank you. I'll take that win.
Stevenson's going to be coming out with a start value 8.20 here in heat number 2, 6 elements.
The interesting thing about the 6-element heat here in Acro is that it is recently synchronized. So in years prior to last year, you didn't always have to have 2 groups. Now you do, so that's a lot of adjusting that the coach needs to do, because previously you could build off of your 6-element from last year, where now you need to curate 2 of those. So that is definitely another element of strategy that the coach needs to make sure they're aware of.
So here are the Mustangs at Stevenson University. And a little dab there at the end. We've seen a couple of teams do that here and there. You ever dab?
I don't think
after a particular heat.
No, I missed my opportunity to do
Yes,
so.
you did.
Oh, dang it.
And you look, Stevenson, we talked about the first-year head coaches. How about the case with Megan Dapre, first-year coach, second head coach in the program's history? She just graduated in the springtime. And all of a sudden she goes from competing last year to now, here she is as the head coach of some of her former teammates.
Yeah, that definitely might be an interesting dynamic to navigate, but it also is one that could be to your advantage. You know what skills everyone else has. You know where they struggle with, and you probably have worked with them and know how to diagnose it as well. So there's a lot of positive things that can come from a young coach and a coach that has personally worked with her own team.
There's at least 8 that she was teammates with last year as she competed on the team each of the past couple of seasons. Year 1 was 2022 for the Mustangs. They went 0-8. Lost to Concordia, Wisconsin. Lost to Trine to the NCATA Division III tournament. And then last year went 1-8 when they beat Caldwell University. And then the NCATA Division III tournament lost to Mary Hardin Baylor. They were done after the quarterfinal. But for the Mustangs already with a couple of wins here this season. East Texas Baptist, Heat 2, 6 element, 9.25 start value.
Great recovery there.
About to say the same thing. Look at that left side and flirting with danger a little bit. A couple of different instances, and in every case, find a way to recover and avoid disaster.
Yeah, you gotta make it look like there is nothing going on and you are doing everything you have practiced doing. So great recovery there. It takes a lot of strength to be able to, kind of get into that point of no return with possibly falling, possibly being able to save it, and then pulling yourself back, hitting a great pop over there, smooth transition, and holding it out nicely on the inversion with the regrab.
In this second heat, Stevenson a 7.535. Now we wait East Texas Baptist score while preparing for the third heat, 7 elements. And Buffalo State with a start value at 9.20. A little bit of country now for you.
There's got to be something for everybody on the playlist. If everyone's contributing, there will be all sorts of genres. It knows no bounds.
What was your go-to?
Oh, I always loved a little bit of hip-hop, but I love country for the line dancing of it. It gets people moving. It's a beat that you can pick up, and a lot of times it goes with a neat little dance of its own. So
you had that line dance, if I remember correctly, in the team event, a little bit of a line dance there.
Yes. Yeah,
that was impressive.
We did the Cotton Eye Joe.
I forgot about that until you just said that.
Yeah, see, you got to have fun with it.
No, and it's memorable.
It is.
So waiting Buffalo State. Also waiting the Tigers score in that last heat. We wrap up the second day of the 2024 NCATA Division III tournament.
Up first with a start value of 9.20.
I mentioned it yesterday. If you like acrobatics and tumbling, you're starting to find that passion for the sport. This has been a fun couple of days, soon to be 3. Seeing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And that will continue. It's going to be a fun-filled Saturday. And you saw that good recovery there from Lucy Ingro. There you go, the Buffalo State Bengals.
Lots to be excited about after that one. Having those skills in your first year as a team is very impressive. So I'm excited for these girls. It makes my heart happy to see them go out there and put a performance like that on the mat. A lot to be proud of.
That last heat for East Texas Baptist, a score of 7.875. Now about to see Stevenson here in Heat 3, 7 element, with a start value of 9. So we'll come out there, will the Mustangs in a moment. A lot of gymnasts back in their high school days up and down this Stevenson roster. A couple lacrosse athletes in there as well. That's the beauty. Yes, you can have a cheerleading and gymnastics background. You can have a dance background, but that's not a necessity. You can play basketball or lacrosse or softball and still have a spot for you, and there's something for you here at Acrobatics and Tumbling.
Yeah, there's something for everybody. Strengths can be used in so many different ways, and you're going to find, if you're not from a background relating to acrobatics and tumbling, that your strengths can be applied in a wide variety of skills. So it's great to see athletes taking a chance on something entirely new and coming together to create new memories in a different sport.
Absolutely. It's amazing when you look at the Concordia, Wisconsin roster, for instance, and you know this, and you've had teammates that all of a sudden, up one sport ended, they used up their eligibility and maybe had a year or two left and found a way to, put themselves on the roster for acrobatics and tumbling. Maybe they didn't know what they were getting themselves involved in, but hey, they got an extra year or two of competing and learned to love it or found a way to make themselves useful on that roster.
Yeah, it's always great to see people that find their way to acrobatics and tumbling in, maybe a means that isn't super traditional. So it's great that we welcome all of these people with open arms. And like you said, we have a use for everybody. Everyone is an athlete here, and it's awesome to see.
See Trinity Poltrack, the freshman from Annapolis, Maryland, with a gymnastics background. Your takeaways from that Heat 3 Stevenson performance?
So I'm really looking towards the bases at this point. I saw some really nice fully extended arms after that tuck off. That's something that the judges are looking for, actually, a full extension from the base, pushing all the way through your shoulders, through to your fingertips to get that top as high as you can. So that's something that I think this base did a great job of doing, and then even carrying that energy and that strength throughout the rest of the heat.
Well, in this third heat, Buffalo State scoring an 8.125. A nice start for them among the 7 elements. East Texas Baptist is next with a solid start value of 10, which tells you about perhaps the degree of difficulty, or so they feel, here in this 7-element third heat.
Yeah, one of the really difficult parts of Sullivan element that I just want to touch on is that you have the same time frame as the other elements, but you need to get in more skills than the 5 or 6 element. So you are kind of scrambling in between, figuring out when you can take breaks and how one thing is going to transition to the next. You really need to be conscious of the time that you're using and use it well.
And so far, these teams have done just that. And It's remarkable how in the various routines we have seen, timing, I mean, it's to a second. I mean, they got it down to an art form. The various, routines that we've seen, and time really hasn't come into play at all. We're obviously looking at the clock going, they got 10 seconds to pull this off. No, it doesn't seem to come into play.
Yeah, it's something that you practice for. So on the mat, I'm not always, or I wouldn't have always been worried about the timing of it, because if you timed it out right and you practiced it right, you shouldn't always be having to worry about that.
Look for that strong finish here is East Texas Baptist. We have Emma Levy out there for the Tigers, her sophomore year. And the Tigers wrapping up the acro event. Stevenson recording a 7.125. So we know for Buffalo State here in the acro event, they registered a 23.200 for the 3 heats combined. Stevenson a 23.400. So very close, at least between those two. We'll see where East Texas Baptist ends up off this 3rd heat.
The pyramid event has 3 different heats with different
As we move along to the pyramid heat, this is always one of the fun events as well. And the first heat being the inversion, with Buffalo State starting with a 9.30. All 3 teams are in the 9s here for a start value here in heat number 1. I love the inversion because I cannot fathom being upside down like that and being able to hold that in the air for 3+ seconds.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts that go into a pyramid like that. You know, there's different things that could go wrong on each level, but, you know, through steady practice and trusting your teammates, you are able to create something that is so impressive and definitely shows the strength of each athlete.
And we'll see Buffalo State first. This final event prior to halftime of this tri-meet. Between these 3 programs that had some tough losses yesterday in quarterfinal competition. Again, just joining us already today in semifinal competition. Mary Hardin Baylor knocking off Texas Lutheran. And Trine beating Concordia at Wisconsin. What's kind of odd about both of those matchups is, in both instances, Mary Hardin Baylor had faced Texas Lutheran twice already during the regular season. Went 3-0 with the semifinal win. Falcons had seen Trine already twice in the regular season. Now again today here in the semi, 3 straight wins for the Thunder. So some repeat matchups, but those teams finding a way to take care of business.
Yeah, acro is one of those skills where oftentimes you know what the other team is going to put out. Scores don't always jump up and down super dramatically from one meet to the next. So when you're heading into a meet, you kind of know what to expect from your opponent. You know what they're going to put out on the mat generally. So having something, having a score that fluctuates is just not typically something that we see very often.
Looking at scores here for East Texas Baptist in Heat 3 at 9.475. So for the 3 heats, they score a 25.7 in the acro event. And so through 2 events scored, right now East Texas Baptist 56.025, followed by Stevenson at 49.150, and Buffalo State at 45.550. It's kind of unique, too, and when you look at a schedule later and you see this all put together, it may look like this on a team schedule. It will say East Texas Baptist, just an example, they beat Stevenson, and it's almost like a whole nother meet is listed, and they beat Buffalo State as well. So, and then you'll see that with Stevenson. Stevenson may have lost East Texas Baptist, but they beat Buffalo State. So it almost looks like you've had 2 different meets on the same day, when in reality it's been one tri-meet.
Yeah, so at the end of the day of a tri-meet, someone will come out with 2 wins, someone will come out with a win and a loss, and someone will come out, unfortunately, with 2 losses.
And we'll see how this pans out for these 3, but you can tell I got excited. I'm moving the hands all around, hitting the microphone. Fired up.
You're excited. I mean, it's 3 days of acro. How could you not be excited?
We still have the final coming up 10 a.m. on Saturday. And that will be a rematch between Mary Hardin Baylor and Trine. And then we wrap things up tomorrow night with the event finals, which be a little bit different.
Up
Not
first
every
for the South
team
Valley,
will have representation in the various
9.30
events, but they will all be involved in some way throughout the event finals tomorrow night. But only one winner will have a score officially announced. Otherwise, everything else is kind of kept hush-hush.
Mm-hmm.
That for the event finals purposes. So here's Buffalo State with Heat 1 inversion, a start value of 9.30.
For some longtime acro fans, you will recognize this pyramid as the old compulsory pyramid that they switched up a couple years ago to be the compulsory pyramid that now you see at the start of the meets. But here is a great example of a pyramid that is a blast from the past. I love seeing it. I think utilizing the bases and having two mids just gives that flyer another aspect of stability, and it is great to be seeing it again.
Does that work for or against Buffalo State going old school?
I think it plays to their strengths. I think doing it well and doing it right, having more bases, well, I guess same amount of bases, but two mids rather than just one can either really help or hurt you. And I think in this situation, even with those moving parts, it really helped the top get another element of stability up there.
So we saw Buffalo State going old school. Up next will be Stevenson with a start value of 9.50. In the pyramid event yesterday against Concordia, Wisconsin, the Mustangs about 2.10 off their start value. End up through the three heats scoring a 26.90. That's one of the closer events they had with Concordia, Wisconsin. And we'll see out there for the Mustangs. Annabelle Rosso
Next with the start
with
value,
Emma
9.50, Stevenson.
Bereznak out there with Alexis Gross and Allison Ozimic.
I think one of the really great things we just saw in that pyramid is the cleanliness of the supporting roles there. So the tosser on the way up and then the catchers doing their job and being nice and clean on the bottom there. So something I know the judges are going to be looking for is after that toss up where we are steady on the shoulders, they are looking for a complete stop there. You don't want any movement, no wiggling. And as they set up for that inversion, they do a great job of stopping their momentum and taking a deep breath before heading into their next skill.
That inversion heat for Buffalo State, 8.475 for their score. We'll see East Texas Baptist next with a start value of 9.70. So many working parts to these pyramids, the pyramid building. Again, easier said than done sometimes, but all about that balance and just having the trust in your base. We've seen in Mary Hardin Baylor, great example. I mean, you talk about just pure strength when it comes to a base. They make it look easy. But, I mean, you're holding two or three athletes above you.
Yeah, it definitely is something that you need to be in tune with who you are working with. You need to know what works for you, and you need to be consistent with what you're doing. Because in practice, you need to get in those reps time after time. So you need to be consistent in what you're doing so the people above you don't need to be adjusting to something different each time. So the role that the bases play on the bottom there, you really are the foundation.
Next with the start value,
That they are.
9.70, East Texas Baptist.
As East Texas Baptist will come out. And the Tigers will have Jessica Coleman, Emily Blaylock, Brianna Brown, Katie Melton, Meredith Griffin, Kylie Davis, Naomi Mays with Kaylin Williams County. Can't try to hold the inversion long enough. Stevenson with an 8.225 for their Heat 1 inversion. But a quality start value there for East Texas Baptist, 9.70. Will lead us to the second heat, synchronized. And again, timing is everything here. Now we'll see some start values across the board, which will include a 10 for East Texas Baptist. Here in the second heat for Buffalo State. First period will consist of Tremaya Dozier, Leah Brown, Cody Ryan. The other pyramid with Brooke Greenberg, Lindsay DeBoth, and we will see Guinevere Brickman. What do you think so far? We've seen, a couple of events scored, nearly one half of the way complete. Your takeaway from what you've seen from these three teams in this tri-meet?
Most importantly that I am taking away from this is that the energy going through here. I think we are seeing a lot of teams kind of relax as we are finishing out the end of the season. And I know from a perspective of having been in this position before, this is where you want to have the most fun. You want to go out and put your best scores out on the mat. And if you don't, it still is okay. At the end of the day, you're going to be able to continue on and finish out your season and hopefully have a good time while doing it. So I love seeing how relaxed everybody is. I think we are seeing a great product of that on the floor. Yeah, I just am so excited to see what's going on, and I think we're going to ramp up as we head into the second half of the meet shortly.
I think it's fun, too, and we talk about the newness still of some of these programs, the case, obviously, of Buffalo State year number one, but just seeing the growth of these programs and realizing this is a sport that's continuing to grow, but the future is awfully bright.
Yeah, it's fastest growing sport in the NCAA. Did I read that right earlier today?
No kidding. And perhaps a couple of more teams will be added as far as Division III goes, just among Division III schools. Come next school year, there's talk of a couple of additions. For the Pyramid Heat inversion, East Texas Baptist has a score of 8.925. I know we're throwing a lot of numbers out at you, but 8.925 in that first heat. You just saw Heat 2 synchronized for Buffalo State. Up next will be Stevenson with a start value of 9.50. A lot of numbers.
I loved seeing from Buffalo State having that different style of basing going on down there, whereas before we saw the shoulder sits and now we're seeing the thigh stands. We're also seeing that angled to the corner, which is strategic to show the body lines of your top coming over while before landing in the hands of your catchers. That also is going to help you get a little bit less of a deduction for deviation from the center line. So that kind of helps hide an element of that there. Could help you get a little bit less of a deduction in that respect.
So we'll wait now for Stevenson. Love looking down. I've learned, too, over these couple of days, you watch the judges. You know when certain judges are ready by the fact that their laptop, the top of the computer starts to bend down a little bit, and then you know, hey, their side's done. You just wait for a couple of the other side, thumb up going up, the thumbs up here for the Mustangs to take to the mat.
9.50 Stevenson.
That was pretty close to that saran wrap catch.
It sure was, and great recovery to the group on the right over there.
Buffalo State had a 7.925 in this second heat, so a little bit off their start value. We'll see East Texas Baptist next with a start value of 10. And yesterday in the Pyramid, that for the Tigers against Texas Lutheran. Through the 3 heats, they end up producing 25.975. They're about 3.73 off their start value. This is where they hurt a little bit along with the compulsory events and the acro event. But you look at the synchronized Heat 2, they had a 9.450. They had a couple of 9s throughout the second and third heats of this Pyramid event. So that's been an area of strength for East Texas Baptist. And the Tigers here in the second heat will have Emily Blaylock, Brianna Brown, Jessica Coleman, Katie Melton, Kaylin Williams, Macy Goff, Kylie Davis, Ellie Davis, Mallory Golden, and Jaden Stroman out on the mat.
Next with a start value of 10.00, East Texas Baptist.
Nice job there by East Texas Baptist. So they wrap up the second heat. Give Stevenson a score of 8.625. So they have a couple of 8s so far here in the Pyramid event. And finally, the Open. Heat 3. Some potentially high scores coming our direction. Buffalo State will start with a start value at 9.50. Open, this could be fun.
Yeah, I think Open is always the fun little curveball at the end of each event. This is where we get to see the team put out what they do best without any constraints. They don't need to complete a certain, element of being an inversion or having a certain amount of twists. So it's really great to see what creative skills that each team will come up with, and you really get to see them shine at what they do best.
The creative side, if you will.
Yeah, most
coming
definitely.
Coming out for both sides, or in this case, for all 3 of these programs. Even with Stevenson, East Texas Baptist, no surprise, start value at 10. You kind of expect that because, as you mentioned, if you play to your strengths, why wouldn't you have a 10 for a start value?
Yeah, it definitely is, I would think, one of the easier ways or easier heats to get a 10 in, because you are able to do exactly what you're most comfortable in.
Buffalo State comes out with Carmela Capizzi, Caitlin Wilhite, Adrienne Gardner, Emma Doherty, Cody Ryan, and Guinevere Brickman. Leah Brown out there as well with Lucy Ingrell counting. In that last heat, the synchronized heat, East Texas Baptist continuing to score high with a 9.525. Just watch Buffalo State here in Heat 3 Open. And now it's going to be Stevenson with a starting value of 10 with Annabelle Rosso. Yeah, Moriana Ruiz, Robin Skroger, Alexis Gross with Allison Ozimic, and Trinity Poltrak out there in Jaden Jacobs. She'll be counting, the freshman from Maryland. As we wind down the Pyramid event, first half here in this tri-meet to wrap up day 2 of the 2024 NCATA Division III tournament. Acrobatics and tumbling here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. I want to call it a growing sport. It certainly is growing, but by no means around here is it new. I mean, it's been around now, at least for Concordia, Wisconsin, for a decade.
Yeah, it has been quite some time. We've been having a team here since 2014, I believe. So a lot of path was laid out for the ladies that have done this before us, and I know it is a great pride for ladies who are currently on the team or have been on the team in more recent years to carry on their legacy.
I would love to hear from those that were on the first or second team for the Concordia, Wisconsin, just how this sport has changed from there to now. And you've already mentioned, just some of what's expected now in the various heats. There have been a couple of changes over even recent years. And emphatic stayings at the end for the Stevenson University Mustangs.
Yes, lots to be excited about.
Looking at scores here from the pyramid event, now in for Buffalo State in Heat 3, an 8.725. So for the three heats, a total of 25.125. That gives them a 70.675 for the first three events scored.
And that is something to certainly be proud of over there at Buffalo State. I think in that last heat that we just saw from them, we saw some beautiful straight legs, and we saw the mid using her core to stabilize that top up there and then give her a nice off at the end. So I think that they are doing absolutely great coming out here for their first tournament and competing and showing up. I think they are doing such a great job.
Again, that conference has to be growing from day one going, okay, what the, to now where this has become business as usual. This is a routine. It's common knowledge now for what's expected, the expectation, the different elements, what they're hoping to accomplish. It's a whole different mindset from where it was, say, a couple of months ago.
Yeah, even down to the order. It's like, hey, now I know what I'm doing next, which is important to know. Good, safe come down there. I mean, one of the things that is so important about this sport is keeping each other safe and knowing how to come down from something that doesn't feel right and knowing when to call it. So I think they did a great job there in knowing their bodies and know that when something goes wrong, you are able to keep your teammates safe.
You saw East Texas Baptist there playing it safe. They had a start value of 10 in the open heat. It's halftime now in this tri-meet. We still have the toss, tumbling, and team events. Remember, Buffalo State will not have a team event that will factor into the score, but will still go out there in between Stevenson and East Texas Baptist for an exhibition. We'll take a break for now. We'll come back and we will take a look at the pyramid complete scores and get you the updated totals through the first three event scores. We continue here on this Friday. We wrap up day two. It's the 2024 NCATA Division III Tournament, Acrobatics and Tumbling. We're live on the Falcon Athletic Network. Things are about to pick up here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. It's half number two of this tri-meet. Up first, Buffalo State, the Heat 1, 450 Salto in the toss event. They have a start value of 8.80. You mentioned it yesterday. It seems like at times that first half may be a slower beginning. You wait, and it seems like a lot of dead time in there, and then all of a sudden you get the half number two, and things start to speed up.
It's almost like you can see the finish line in view. So you're able to ramp it up a little bit. You know that the end is rounding itself out here. And I think that is something that Buffalo State has done a great job here in this first toss event, setting the tone for what this event is going to look like. So the top had great extension on the entry, and kicking out her legs to enter the basket nice and tight is exactly what the judges are going to be looking for.
Yeah, just joining us, you see the scores on your screen through the first 3 events scored. A great start here for East Texas Baptist. They have a couple of victories, 7 defeats. Stevenson in second at 2-7. Buffalo State 1-6. That's the overall record coming into this tri-meet to wrap up their 2024 seasons. But again, some of these athletes will be featured during the event finals tomorrow night. In the 450 Salto for Stevenson, they will have a start value of 8.80.
Next with a start value of 8.80, Stevenson.
And out there will be Alexis Fortier, Emma Bresnik with Trinity Poltrak, Mackenzie Estes. You have Allison Ozimic, and counting is Mariana Ruiz. Do watch out, okay, so on that particular toss, and we've seen it in other meets already today, okay, you toss up an athlete, and all of a sudden everyone's got to move about a step or two over because she's starting to sway a different direction. That wasn't as noticeable, but our judges watching that too to see just how clean of a toss.
Yeah, so movement on the toss is definitely something that the judges are looking for. They call that a deviation. So where you start is where you want to stop at the same time. So if you know that typically you move forward in your tosses, you may want to start your toss facing the judges so that forward movement isn't something that they can pick up on as much. If you typically move side to side, maybe you want to face your basket to the side, so then that movement isn't seen as much either. So you definitely can play to your strengths here, and it's important to do so you can get the as many points as you can out of your toss.
In that first heat for Buffalo State, they scored a 7.725. East Texas Baptist up next. Again, they're in the driver's seat right now in this tri-meet. And we're also talking about the second half and things start to speed up. It's also kind of unique to watch because, yes, you have these teams preparing for each heat, but they're also, in some cases, some are starting to stretch out, get ready for that team event, which will wrap up the day.
Yeah, there's just so much going on in team event. You got to start warming up for it early.
So here is East Texas Baptist, the Tigers, the number 4 seed. Nice job. Well done.
Great control there.
Stevenson scored a 7.975, and I have a feeling as East Texas Baptist came with a start value 9.3, they'll be in the, I think, a high 8s. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe even in the 9s. We'll have to wait and see how they score that for East Texas Baptist as we turn our attention to Heat 2 and synchronized. Were you ever a fan of the toss event?
I loved toss event. I think it is a great display of strength by the bases, but also technique by the top. And it's also an event where you have to be fearless on top and on bottom to put yourself in harm's way to ensure the safety of your top and to make sure you're doing everything you can in the air to make sure your bases are safe in order to catch you. So I think a whole lot of trust goes here. There's a whole lot of moving parts, and I love seeing how it goes so quick, but it is something so incredible at the same time.
We've seen, I think it was Trine, they have the headgear. Mm-hmm. And so we have the toss, and that adds a whole other element, too, because obviously you do it for precautionary reasons, potential head injuries. You want to, avoid all of that. But as a base with the catching. We saw today where all of a sudden one of the bases got jacked in the chin by the helmet. I mean, that all comes into play, too. It's something you don't often think about, but there's a lot that goes in to a toss.
There truly is. There's a lot of technique. It's a lot of timing, and it's a lot of trusting yourself and trusting your teammates.
How about an 8.8 for East Texas Baptist in Heat 1? Now it's Heat 2, synchronized 8.80 start value for Buffalo State. Excellent timing by the Bengals.
One thing I love about the back tuck toss is it is such a foundational element that you can build off of, but it is not something to be discredited. It is still extremely technical, and it is a difficult skill to learn, especially for a new team. So seeing them have two of these baskets out here, I am very proud of them at this moment.
Great job there by Buffalo State. And now Stevenson also with a start value at 8.80. Stevenson currently about 6 points back in second place, but hanging around. Look at start values, though. East Texas Baptist with some strong start values here in the toss event. And comparable start values for Stevenson as well in the tumbling event. So we look at where is there room to grow. You may have to wait till that team event comes a call in and hope for maybe something to pan out there. But it doesn't seem like a big deficit, but 6 points is a lot.
6 points can be a lot to make up, but the great thing about team event is that there are so many points jam-packed into it that you can make up a lot of points, or you can even lose a lot of them there too. So a lot is on the line heading into team event.
Here are the Mustangs. Heat 2 synchronized toss event. So there's a great example on that left side. Taking about a step over to make that catch. Are the judges watching for that? Is that something that you can get deducted for?
Yeah, it certainly is. As I mentioned earlier, the deviation of the group from 1 point. But how the judges are looking to score that is by your footsteps on the bottom. So our coach would always explain it to us as if you're making a footprint in the sand or in the snow, they're going to count that as a step. So whether you're even just sliding your foot out or whether you're picking it up and putting it down in another position, the judges are looking for that, and they can take up to 3/10 off for that.
So they're watching the feet, but also the catch. There's a lot going on there. A lot of eyeballs watching different things.
They're just watching everything out there.
That's why there's 5 judges down there, all kind of giving their 2 cents on who saw what. Buffalo State with a 6.950 in the Heat 2 synchronized. That was their score. And now East Texas Baptist with a start value of 9.25, off to another strong start here in the toss event. And the Tigers, the more experienced of the 3 teams, at least just in longevity, haven't been around since 2019. This is a program that competed in 6 events in the event finals, won the pyramid event. Program's first ever, 10.0. That was last year, won the open toss as well. And we'll see them tomorrow. And a little more time to talk about as we go along, but what can fans expect? Obviously, they've been seeing these teams compete, but the event finals coming tomorrow night. It's a whole nother avenue here for this NCATA D3 tournament.
Yeah, going back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, playing to your strengths is so important, and in the finals is where we're going to see everybody putting their best foot forward on the mat with their strongest skills. So it is really exciting because the level of execution we're going to see tomorrow night is going to be through the roof. Yeah,
and we're going to see, again, all 8 Division III schools represented. And as far as some of the events, and again, we'll talk more about it even tomorrow as we go along, but you have 5-element acro, 6-element acro, 7-element acro. You have the inversion pyramid, synchronized pyramid, open pyramid, 450 salto toss, synchronized toss, open toss, duo pass, trio pass, quad pass, aerial pass, 6-element pass, and the open pass throughout the course of tomorrow night. Nice job there by East Texas Baptist here in heat number 2. A lot going on tomorrow, but it's going to fly by.
It really will. There are so many moving parts that will be going on tomorrow night. It's definitely going to be more fast-paced. The judges are going to know what they're looking for. You know, at the end of 3 days of judging, they're going to be able to pick up on those deductions a bit quicker. So it is really going to be a fast-paced time for all of us.
Should be a fun environment, too, because the way they rescheduled things is okay with the final in the morning, but now with the event finals at night, it forces, I mean, not that you want to have to force a team, but it does make the teams stick around. No one's going home early if they're not in the final. You're going to be there. And so stands should be packed with even the athletes that aren't necessarily out there competing. They're to support their teammates.
Yeah, the energy in here is going to be electric. You're going to see people supporting each other. You're going to see teams supporting other teams. There's going to be a lot going on, and it is going to be a great positive environment to be a part of.
So again, that will take place. Note the start time, a little bit different from these first 2 days. 7 p.m. Central for the event finals. The team finals still at 10 a.m. Mary Hardin Baylor and Trine
The final heat will be
for
the
a
open
second
toss.
straight year.
Up first with a start value of 8.55, Buffalo State.
In that second heat, Stevenson with a score of 6.325. Here's Buffalo State, Heat 3 open, 8.55 start value. Saddle there for the Bengals.
Yeah, that was a very nice toss. Very tight. Everyone was in sync with each other. That timing of the release and the top doing, kicking her legs behind to be able to get her rotation going. I think that was a great toss.
In that last heat, that second heat for East Texas Baptist, their score was 8.25. As we continue on here in Heat 3 open for the toss event, we'll see Stevenson at 8.65 for a start value. Stevenson, as mentioned, making the trip from Maryland with a brand new head coach, but one that's competed in this event a year ago. Still think that's got to be unique. 1 minute you're a teammate, next minute you're the coach, or you're in charge essentially of your former teammate when it comes to the acrobatics and tumbling team. But like you said, the plus side is you're not that far removed from competing. And again, age-wise, very relatable to what these athletes are going through, both on and off the mat.
Yeah, we even had a situation like that more recently with Jordan Ireland, who used to be on the team, and she is here in the stands today. Love to see her coming back and supporting. But having that turnaround, she was a great resource for us, and she always had the insight that we needed at the time. She knew everybody individually, and she was just a joy to be around and a great athlete to learn from.
That's the situation here for Stevenson as they continue to build their program. And a program record, couple of meet wins here this spring. So here is Stevenson, got an 8.65 start value.
Excellent catch there. One thing that the judges are looking for is a nice high catch. You want to stop that momentum as high as you can, and I think that was a great example right there from Stevenson.
With Annabelle Rosso, the top. And some of these scores now in for Buffalo State. End up scoring a 6.550 in Heat 3. So for the 3 heats here in the toss event, a total of 21.225. Which gives them a total of 91.900 through the first 4 events scored. Be a second before we get the Stevenson totals. East Texas Baptist will come out with a start value of 9.25. And the Tigers with Zoe Connor, Ellie Davis, Maddie Lozano, Emily Blaylock, and Meredith Griffin out there competing with Naomi Mays, counting. The Tigers to the mats.
East Texas Baptist.
Nice duration for East Texas Baptist here in the toss event. For Stevenson, 8.050 for Heat 3. A toss event score of 22.350 and a meet score of 97.900 to stay in the moment in second place. But they have now built exactly a 6-point lead above Buffalo State as we move to the tumbling event. And we mentioned a little bit different from what we saw in the tumbling heat during the compulsory event.
Yeah, this is where we'll get to see athletes do what they do best. They oftentimes curate their pass, working alongside with their coach to put out the best product to the mat. So instead of doing something that you are required to do and that everyone does the same things, you get to do what you are comfortable at.
And to start things off, we have the duo pass. Some nice start values across the board among these three programs. Watching over on the East Texas Baptist side, and you see working on a variety of things. What is going on over there on the sideline? For just an average fan that's looking on and going, okay, what are they doing over there?
So I can see that they are warming up for team event. They are warming up some press extensions, and I can tell because we've already done acro events, so any acros that they are doing this late in the event is going to be done during team event. So that is something, a little glimpse that we will be looking forward to as we round out today with team event.
Tigers will have 19 competing in the team event. East Texas Baptist scored an 8.6 in heat number 3. 25.65 for the 3 heats in the toss event. And they have a score of 107.525. So they've built now about a 10-point lead through the first 4 events scored. So a fine showing here by East Texas Baptist, trying to come away with the tri-meet victory over both Buffalo State and Stevenson. We turn our attention to the tumbling event. And while we have a moment, obviously, thank you one and all for joining us here on this Friday. A number of, I'm sure, friends and family watching from New York, Maryland, out in and down in Texas. Those that unable to make it here to Mequon, Wisconsin. So thank you one and all for joining us here these first couple of days. Hope you'll join us again coming up on Saturday. And what was kind of neat for the Falcons, like Concordia, Wisconsin, getting the opportunity to host is a lot of friends and family here and seeing a lot of familiar faces. I'm sure you always look for a familiar face or two in the crowd.
Oh, most definitely. I was always looking for my mom and my aunt. Those two were my rock and always just supporting me in every single way. They were at nearly every meet that they could. They walked me for my senior night. I cannot thank them enough for everything they've done.
Little birdie told me your mom may be watching.
I think she is.
So the scores right now being announced here in the toss event.
Meet total, Buffalo State 91.
And again, East Texas Baptist in first, Stevenson in second, Buffalo State currently in third. Remember here in this, and we'll remind you again, but in this tumbling event, no quad pass for Buffalo State. So again, they'll have to wait an extra heat to compete again, but when we get to that part of the tumbling event, they will not have a quad pass. 8.50 for Buffalo State.
Number 7,
Lucy Ingro and Adriana Gardner here for the duo pass. As you mentioned yesterday, it does not matter if one is further down the mat or the other. It's all about that timing and the footwork.
Yeah, it is all about timing, no matter how far away they might be. As long as they are in sync with each other, that is what matters most.
Stevenson with a start value 8.50. And here in the duo pass, we will see Annabelle Rosso and Trinity Poltrak, the two that will be out there here for the Mustangs. This is fun, and I like when we get to the eventual aerial pass, the 6-element pass, the open pass, where it's, one athlete on display, a little more pressure, but we mentioned it yesterday, every athlete's different. Some want that pump up from a teammate, others leave them alone, let them do their thing, they're in their zone.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into preparing yourself for an individual pass like that. You've got the lights on you, you've got the eyes on you. How are you going to react to that pressure from the people around you, from the judges? You can either rise up and really hit a great pass, or you can maybe subdue yourself a little bit, get real technical before you go. So I think there are so many ways that you can go about preparing yourself mentally for such a pass like that.
Next with the start,
as the music gets turned down slightly, the Stevenson
number
University
1,
Mustangs.
Annabelle Rosso, and number 10, Trinity Poltrak.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, excellent with that controlled step at the end. There's always just something so captivating about tumbling. I think it really garners the attention of everybody in the room. And I remember yesterday you mentioned that if you were part of one of the events here, you would want to be part of Acro events. So I do want to know what draws you to
I've changed
Acro.
I've changed my mind. I'll be the counter. I don't care what the event is, I'll count.
No.
1, 3, 5, 7. I can handle that.
Oh, I think you got it.
think.
I think you'd be great at it.
Yeah. In the duo pass, Buffalo State with a score of 7.800. East Texas Baptist with a start value 8.50 with Macy Goff and Maddie Lozano. Lozano, gymnastics background out of Denton, Texas. High school, a 7-time state champion. No, I joke about the downtime, but it always seems like tumbling, it takes a little bit longer. And I mean, obviously there's more at times involved in different elements, but it just seems like it takes a little bit longer sometimes for those scores to come in.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such a long event. It has the most heats within it. There's a lot to be watching at one time for the judges.
Kind of watching that timing, watching the footwork. Note that Stevenson with an 8.00 on their duo pass. So a good start there for the Mustangs, and nice start for East Texas Baptist as well as we move on to the trio pass.
This will be interesting to see scores come out as we have the same start value across all three teams. It's kind of like we're going head-to-head in a matchup, much like we saw in compulsory earlier. We're going to be having a similar turn of events happen just now.
Yeah, and you're right. You look at the various heats, and for the most part, scores are relatively comparable with the exception of maybe the aerial pass where things pick up for all three of the different programs. But again, a lot of comparable start values here in the tumbling event among these three programs. In the trio pass for Buffalo State, Jackie Hayden, Brianna Rohr, and Charmaya Dozier. A couple of freshmen will be competing with a 7.00 start time, or a start value here for the Bengals.
We now move on to the trio pass. Up first with a start value of 7.00, Buffalo State, number 15, Jackie Hayden, number 19, Brianna Rourke, number 1, Sharmaya Dozer.
It will keep that foot in balance on that far side to the Bengals. That would Bree Rohr. Missed utility, a freshman.
Love seeing the energy pick up as Tumbling comes out. You can tell it's really something that gets everybody excited. And I love seeing the camaraderie over there on the sidelines between the Bagels and the Mustangs.
I'm not sure if she was playing to the camera, playing to the crowd, but either way, nice little duration there for Bree Rohr. That's one of the neat things, too. We've seen it with a couple of teams where, okay, maybe their friends and family cannot be here physically, but again, with with technology these days, they're still viewing, and so we've seen some of these athletes play to the camera a little bit to at least give some kind of a sign to a loved one back home.
Yeah, it is always nice to know that whether they're in person or watching at home, that you have somebody supporting you. So it's nice to take a step back and recognize that, hey, I've got people in my corner, whether they're here, whether they're at home, and it's just great to recognize them no matter how you do it.
There was an 8.15 for East Texas Baptist in the duo pass. For the trio pass, going to be a 7.50 for Stevenson. Got the upbeat version of the Titanic song from Celine Dion.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard that
No,
before.
That gets you fired up.
Now, I wonder who put that on.
I don't know, but we are, and here's a history note for you. We are nearing an anniversary of the Titanic and the iceberg.
Oh, really?
It's coming up, a couple of days.
Stevenson, number 1.
Timely.
Rosso, number 2, Mariana Ruz, and number 16, Mackenzie Estes.
Boy, so tough to do. And again, we talk about the sticking that landing and doing so simultaneously. And you look, your momentum tends to carry you one way, and somehow you're able to plant those feet and avoid swaying a different direction.
Yeah, it's really difficult to be able to stop your momentum from heading one way and really just stick it in that landing. So there's a lot of strength that goes on there to be able to complete that.
That last heat for Buffalo State here in the trio pass of 5.250. Up next, East Texas Baptist, a 7.50 start value. And in the trio pass, we'll see Emma Levy, Macy Goff, and Jessica Coleman out there here for East Texas Baptist. There's a point in the tri-meet where we're starting to get a little bit late.
This is where you really got to dig deep, find what makes you motivated, and then make sure that you channel that, go out there, and do what you got to do. It's the last meet of the season. You don't want to leave any regrets out there.
Well, and we talk about pushing through, okay, back-to-back days of competition, more downtime throughout the course of this tri-meet, but also the length of the meet a little bit longer, maybe half hour, 45 minutes longer than you're accustomed to. So there's a lot that goes on and a lot being asked of some of these athletes and finding a way to get through.
Yeah, you really have to find what works for you and make sure you do it.
The East Texas Baptist Tigers with the trio pass. Remember, no quad pass here for Buffalo State, so we'll skip right ahead here in the quad pass to Stevenson. We'll come out with a start value of 7.00 with Alexis Fortier, Trinity Poltrack. You have Robin Skroger and Allison Ozimick competing for the Mustangs. Try to catch you up on some scores, too, as they come in. Still waiting on the trio pass for Stevenson. Yeah, nothing as of yet for either Stevenson or East Texas Baptist as they just move ahead to Stevenson here in the quad pass. Still to come the aerial pass, 6-element pass, open pass before we start talking team event. And again, the only scores that will count will be Stevenson and East Texas Baptist. If I'm told, in between the two will be Buffalo State with an exhibition, which will allow the judges to score Stevenson before we get into the East Texas Baptist routine. We'll see if that changes a little bit too, but that's a preliminary talk as to the way the team event schedule will pan out.
The final heat of synchronized passes will be the quad pass. Next, with a start value of 7.00.
So again, the Mustangs up first here in the quad pass.
Alexis Porter. Number 10, Trinity Koltrak. Number 24, Robin Skroger. And number 42, Allison Ozimick.
Some of the updates in that trio pass for Stevenson, 5.400. East Texas Baptist, 5.525. So a little bit of a struggle, if you will, in that particular heat. So after Stevenson in the quad pass, sits on East Texas Baptist also with a start value of 7.00. Jordan Reeves, Jaden Stroman, Zoe Counter, and Ellie Davis will be out there competing. Ellie Davis in her junior year. We start spotlighting some individuals coming up with the aerial pass up next.
It's always so exciting to see what individual passes kind of fit the athlete that is throwing them. It's always really interesting to see what skills work better for some people, skills that I may be like, ooh, I could never see myself throwing that, whereas there's other things that I'm sure maybe they feel the same way about things that I've thrown in the past. So it's super interesting to see how each person can play to their own strengths.
One, and you know from your days with the Concordia Falcons, one athlete that was awfully strong when it came to the pass is Peyton Tarmina.
Yes, definitely one of our stronger tumblers on the team. It's super exciting working with her and seeing how much work and time outside of competition season where she just would drill her skills, and great work ethic for her.
One of those seniors that's been with the Falcon program for 4 years, seeing at least from a team standpoint her time come to an end earlier today in semifinal competition. There you go, East Texas Baptist in the quad pass. Stevenson scored a 4.500, so seen some lower scores so far here in the tumbling event. We'll see if that changes now as we move on.
I mean, as we mentioned before, it's really hard to hit the score sheets with any tumbling event, whether that's right in the beginning with compulsory or all the way down here to tumbling event. It is just super difficult. It depends on the judge. It could honestly depend on the time of day. It is super difficult to score well in this event.
Depends if you're hangry or not, if you've gotten well fed at this point. It's been a long day.
Yeah, Coach always would keep some snacks on the side for the second half.
That's it. Real smart. Again, these athletes are used to more in the afternoon when it comes to competing, and that's an adjustment too, besides having to play multiple days. In some instances, having to get used to a different start time. You're a whole different routine of preparing for what's to be.
Yeah, adjusting that clock and especially what time you practice at typically is going to be your sweet spot and where you're strongest. So being able to switch it up and be versatile enough to come here and hit those same skills at a different time of day where you've already had a full day ahead of you, or maybe you normally practice earlier where you get it out of the way and then you are able to relax for the rest of the day. Being able to adjust to this time frame is something that I think is often overlooked.
First will be the aerial pass.
Now a spotlight on the aerial pass for Buffalo State. Jackie Hyden. Start value of 7.50. There you go, Jackie Hyden. Very strong tumbler for Buffalo State.
Beautiful height on that layout, and her body position was perfect. You could see how she was squeezing all the way through her core, down to her legs, pointed toes. I think that was an excellent effort there from Jackie.
For East Texas Baptist, a 5.35 in the quad pass. That was their total. So we've seen a lot of 4s and 5s as of late, but that I feel is going to change here. And for Stevenson in the aerial pass, Trinity Poltrack, a freshman. And 13 freshmen for Stevenson, so not all going to stick around. Look at Concordia, Wisconsin, and the current senior group, only 4 out of 11 when they all came in together that have been around from day one through 4 years later. So they'll come and go, but for Stevenson, they certainly have laid down a nice foundation of youth that have the potential to be around for another 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it is that retention is so difficult to keep up over the years. Just with being a student athlete, the demands that come along with that, it's not always going to fit into everybody's schedule, and sometimes you need to make a choice. And at the D3 level, I love that we are able to make that choice and prioritize our academics when we need to, and then slip into athletics when we have time. So being able to balance both is something that is commendable for athletes no matter what school you attend.
A lot asked to these athletes, and gym time always comes into play a little bit as well. And if you like getting up early, this might be the sport for you. If you don't, well, you got to adjust. And if you can't adjust, well, maybe it's not.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that can guide you into whether this sport is a great fit or maybe there's somewhere else that could fulfill your life a bit more.
As you and I talked about yesterday, when it comes to positivity, look no further. If you want to be around positivity, this is a great sport for it.
Yeah, I've definitely had friends who came from different athletic backgrounds come to Acro and say, wow, just the camaraderie between other teams and between our team itself. It's just something that isn't always generated in other teams. The kindness that is shown here is unmatched in any other sport, I would dare to say.
Healthy. That's probably the word I would use.
Indeed.
There you have it with Trinity Poltrack. Not looking like a freshman.
No, she looks comfortable here. So to come in with that level of confidence and comfortability, it's great to see in a freshman, and I look forward to seeing her grow in the sport.
6.775 was credited to Jackie Hyden with her aerial pass for Buffalo State. Next up for East Texas Baptist, Macy Goff. Cheerleading background for the sophomore from Nashville, Arkansas. That's for Macy Goff. I bet you thought I was going to say Tennessee.
I really did. I was waiting for it.
I got to look at a map, but we have Atlanta, Texas.
Oh.
We have Nashville, Arkansas among some of the towns I did not know exist in those states. But here we go.
Here they
Acrobatics and Tumbling, and they just so happen to all be on the East Texas Baptist roster. So the 6-element pass, open pass to come here in the tumbling event. See the team scores through the first 4 events scored, and a nice lead, a healthy lead here for Buffalo State. Or I should say for East Texas Baptist over Stevenson and Buffalo State.
Number 19, Macy Goff.
Here's Macy Goff. Well done.
Very well done.
A lot going on there, too. And for Macy Goff. That followed up the performance we saw from Trinity Poltrack, which got her an 8.300, just off the start value. And now the 6-element pass. Buffalo State will have Adrian Gardner, a freshman from Fairfield, California. There's a look at Gardner in her element. Just mentally preparing now, and this is where, again, a lot of athletes go, just let me be, get in that zone.
Yeah, you've got a lot to focus on. So in order to do your best, there's a lot that you need to think about.
Right now, not only are you trying to think about what's about to transpire, but also waiting for that thumb to go up in the air. You never know when it's going to go, but you better be ready.
Yeah, you better be ready to hear the music turn down, hear your name called, and it's showtime.
See a couple of the computers go down for the judges, which means we're getting close. This is one of the heats where Buffalo State has one of the higher start values over Stevenson and East Texas Baptist here in the tumbling event. Talking about the ability of Gardner.
Up first with a start value of 8.45, Buffalo State, number 11, Adrian Gardner.
Wow.
Look at that. She must have glue on her feet.
You catch all that?
Yeah, look at that. The 6-element pass is so special to me. It's a pass that I used to throw for Concordia, and honestly, I would dare to say one of the hardest ones. 6 elements, one right after the other. It requires a lot of stamina to be able to go from start to finish.
And again, that's a freshman right there, which tells you with what we've seen already here in this tri-meet, the future is very bright for this sport.
Yes, most definitely. I look forward to seeing how she grows in her future years, and we've got a great foundation right here.
In that aerial pass, a 9.2 was credited to Macy Goff, so another strong showing for East Texas Baptist. Up next here in the 6-element pass, Mackenzie Estes, 7.45 for her start value. Scored a 6.200 in quarterfinal competition yesterday against Concordia, Wisconsin. For the rest of the athletes, not only are they trying to cheer on their teammates, but again, they're starting to get ready and sense the team event that is coming up. It'll be the final time that these schools will get the opportunity to perform the team event here in 2024. Gonna leave it all on the mat.
Next with a start value of 7.45, Stevenson, number 16, Mackenzie Estes.
Mackenzie Estes from Stevenson.
Love hearing her team count for her in the background. 1, 2, 3 for each back handspring. Because when you're doing them, sometimes you lose count, and I can speak from experience on that one.
Well, you mentioned earlier, too, the sportsmanship. I love, and we've seen whether it be the tunnel or the high five line, when she got back to the mat, it wasn't just her Stevenson teammates, but it was also the Buffalo State teammates that put their hands out there. She went down the entire line for both teams.
Yeah, it has been great to see them doing that for each athlete that comes off the mat. It is just awesome to see the sportsmanship like that, and that is something that I value so much, so it's great to see.
7.500 for Adrian Gardner, that for Buffalo State. We'll await the score here for Mackenzie Estes. Up next in the 6 element pass for East Texas Baptist, Maddie Lozano. And Lozano, a senior. Among a couple of seniors listed, among the 15 returning for East Texas Baptist. Just to wrap up the 6 element pass heat. Near the end of this tri-meet here on this second day of the NCATA Division III tournament.
East Texas Baptist, number 1, Maddie Lozano.
See some great competition throughout these first couple of days. And more to come on Saturday. That running start for Maddie Lozano. It was a 6.300 for Mackenzie Estes in the 6 element pass. Now more creativity with the open pass for the tumbling event. And Buffalo State will start first with Lucy Ingro, which will start value at 8.50. And we'll see a couple of 8.50s to start in these first couple of attempts for Buffalo State and Stevenson. So the Mustangs looking on. Kind of need to for, talking about making memories here. And for none of these athletes, first time they've been to Mequon, Wisconsin. Where's Mequon, Wisconsin on the map? But for some, it's their first opportunity to go check out Lake Michigan right next door. And I heard a couple of the Texas schools talking earlier about that's part of their plan tomorrow when you have that downtime between the team final and the event finals. There's going to be a nice sizable gap there and perhaps the weather will cooperate to go check out the Concordia Beach that is Lake Michigan.
Yeah, we've definitely got the campus to do it.
So Lucy Ingro wrapping up the tumbling event for Buffalo State.
Looking over to that sportsmanship again on the side, there's so many things that can set acro apart from other sports. I'm curious to see what is one thing that you noticed about acro that makes it different than other sports that are offered to students?
Well, and you talk about that sportsmanship and that positivity, and it just seems like, not that, other sports are toxic by any means, but they're just, and you see it right there. Regardless of what's taking place, a lot of smiles. You see both sides pumping each other up. And it's just something where, yes, they're competing against each other, but in the whole scheme of things, again, you want to see each other do well. You're trying to help grow this sport. It's not toxic. End of the day, you're just trying to go out there and compete and best yourself and better yourself. And I think it's one of those where it's contagious, too. You're having a bad day, you come to one of these events, how do you not walk out here a little more peppy?
Yeah, I think definitely a part of that can be attributed to being such a more recent sport that has emerged. It's almost like we're all working towards a common goal here, that we are all growing the sport and making history. How can you not be happy and supporting your fellow colleagues?
And again, I don't see how it changes. I mean, already the culture has been created. Annabelle Rosso for Stevenson in the open pass. For East Texas Baptist, Maddie Lozano was given a 7 in the 6 element pass. Now, even with some of the new teams that are going to be coming in, I don't see how this culture changes.
No, I think the teams that have come before have done a great job of setting up this tone for how this sport is, and I love how it is different than something that we have experienced before. So typically when you see, a lot of the game faces turn on in other sports and, that more almost aggression at some points to battle your way to the top, we don't always see that here. And I think that is such a almost refreshing change of pace.
And a lot of these teams have been where, like in this case, Buffalo State's been. First year, wasn't that long ago that Stevenson was in that same boat. A few years ago it was East Texas Baptist. So again, one another helping each other grow and stay upbeat and stay positive, even with some of the growing pains that maybe come in those first couple of seasons.
Yeah, there's definitely a level of understanding there because everyone knows what it feels like because it's a recent feeling for each team that's out here.
Number 4, Emma Levy.
Emma Levy up next here for East Texas Baptist. The start value is 7.50. Some scores here in the open pass that have come out. 8.225 for Buffalo State. So in the tumbling event, a score of 35.550 for the Bengals. Overall score so far of 127.450. As for Stevenson, in the open pass, 8.350 for an event score of 40.850 for a meet score of 138.750. So again, a lead of just over 11 for Stevenson over Buffalo State. And we'll await the score here. That for Emma Levy. As we turn our attention now to the team event. And Buffalo State will have an exhibition, so they'll perform at some point, but their 127.450 will be their final score here for this tri-meet. Again, you got to love the energy level that comes with this team event. All the various elements that all come together. You find a way to get it done in 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
It's kind of like everything you've been doing in the meet is coming to a head here. So everything that you have done, you need to revisit it in your brain. So things that you warmed up in the first half, you need to warm them up again. And you've got to go kind of dig back in what you've just done, recall those movements, recall those techniques, and then I'll turn it on for one last effort in the team event.
Almost equated to, hey, you've studied up to this point, now it's kind of a review of everything, and here's the final exam.
Yep, and there it is.
Note for East Texas Baptist in the open pass, a score of 8.350, a tumbling event score of 40.850, and they currently have a team score of 138. That can't be right. No, it's not. Let's do that again. About to say they have the exact score, but no, they got a 7. That makes more sense. A 7.125. Sorry for the confusion, but 7.125 in the open pass. 42. That makes more sense. 42.35 for the tumbling event. So they have a team score of 149.875. So they're roughly up over 11 points on Stevenson. That makes more sense. There's so many numbers out there, but in this tri-meet. So East Texas Baptist eventually up 11 points over Stevenson. Stevenson essentially 11 points up over Buffalo State, who will finish in third place in this tri-meet. That will be their final team score, 127.450.
Ooh, I sure am glad that you're reading the numbers.
Oh, not well. You're going to have to help me tomorrow with the event finals. It's going to be only one score that gets announced, but there's going to be a lot going on throughout the course of tomorrow night.
There definitely is, but I'm here to help.
Okay, be sure to check out cuwfalcons.com for links to the webcast, live stats, tournament schedule, and also a recap of all that's taken place so far here in these first couple of days. And we're not done yet. One more day to go. So Stevenson should be first up here in the team event. They will have a start value of 92.34. They're going to have 15 out there competing. A maximum of 24. They will have 15. East Texas Baptist will have 19 competing. Again, told that Buffalo State expected to go after Stevenson as they tabulate the Stevenson score. But again, it'll be an exhibition for the Bengals.
2.34 start value, Stevenson.
Here come the Mustangs.
And here we go. Good luck to everybody on the mat.
The Stevenson University Mustangs, who yesterday scored a 70.150 with their team event, wrapping up their portion of the tri-meet. Well done.
Yeah, well done. Well, good effort out there by the Mustangs. I think that was a great, energetic team event to watch. I loved seeing the athletes who were in a supporting role cheering on the other athletes who were in the midst of doing a difficult skill, counting for each other. That's the kind of accountability that you want to have on the mat.
So while the judges tabulate the Mustangs team event, we will see Buffalo State up next. And again, this will be an exhibition. So they will send out their team, the active roster out there for this team event.
With an exhibition event, Buffalo State.
So the Buffalo State University Bengals wrapping up their inaugural season.
Once again, best of luck to everyone.
They got them dancing here inside the John Book Fieldhouse.
I don't think I've ever had more fun watching a team event than I did just now. That was incredible. Way to bring the energy.
The Buffalo State Bengals. Just wait to come next year. Perhaps now we'll have a team event that will count toward their team score. They're getting close, but that was a heck of an exhibition.
That sure was, especially for a first-year team to come out here and be able to even show a team event, whether that's an exhibition or counting for a score. I think that is extremely commendable. Big kudos to the coaches over there and to the athletes.
Here comes East Texas Baptist, the Tigers, with a start value of 98.30. They end up scoring a total of 77.840 yesterday against Texas Lutheran. And that's how you end a tri-meet.
Yeah, no kidding. I love the timing on those back tuck tosses. They seem nearly perfect.
We'll wait for the scores here for East Texas Baptist. For Stevenson, their team event, a little bit higher from that of yesterday, a 70.800 for a meet score of 209.550. So Stevenson over Buffalo State, 209.550 to 127.450. And now we wait for East Texas Baptist to come in. And while we wait, let's again look ahead to tomorrow with the team final taking place at 10 a.m. A rematch from last year in which Mary Hardin Baylor knocked off Trine. It's going to be a 1-2 seeded matchup. At 10 o'clock, we'll get things started, but then you'll be back with me for the final events. What are you most looking forward to in the final events coming up at 7 o'clock?
Oh, I think there's just going to be so much going on. How can you not look forward to every second of it?
Again, we mentioned when you look at the schedule for those that are new to what all takes place in the event finals, we will have the 5-element acro, 6-element acro, 7-element acro with the inversion pyramid, synchronized pyramid, open pyramid, 4-5-0, salto toss, synchronized toss, open toss, duo toss, trio pass, quad pass, aerial pass, 6-element pass, open pass, and we will have roughly a representative or team for all three, or for 3 schools in each of those particular events. So, and everybody will be represented in each of those events, but every school will have some type of participation throughout the course of the event finals.
Yeah, it's always really great to see the event finals because these are going to be the 3 teams that have the highest scores accumulated over the season and are now able to compete them against each other for the final winner of the crown.
And now we wait for East Texas Baptist scores to come in as they watch their team event one last time on the video board. Perhaps for some, the final time they'll get the opportunity to go out there and compete. So kind of an emotional time, too. Here, obviously, there's a pat on the back. Hey, you got through this. Job well done. And for some, this is it. Final opportunity to compete on the mat, and they laid it all on the line.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of pride, but also a sense of longing for closing a chapter for those seniors of their life and moving on to maybe something new, and even, friends on the team who might be just competed the last time with their teammate with a great support. So definitely in an emotional time, but definitely exciting to look back on all you accomplished in your years that you've been competing for acrobatics and tumbling, whether that's 1 year or 4 years. There's a whole lot to be proud of. Your
takeaway from what we saw tonight here in this tri-meet?
I think we saw a lot of growth for these teams. Looking at where they started, whether this is their first year or their 5th year of being a team, coming to the end here and seeing how the energy stayed consistent and the skills from the beginning of the season to what we saw today have steadily increased.
Not easy. And it's not easy at all to compete in the first place, let alone back-to-back days, let alone in a tri-meet after competing in an emotional quarterfinal. But bravo to all 3 of these teams, too, for not only what we saw here, but also the encouragement, the positivity among the 3 teams. The sportsmanship was off the charts as well, and that's a tip of the cap to the coaches, the cultures they have built within these 3 programs here tonight inside the John Book Fieldhouse.
That certainly makes it more enjoyable as an athlete to compete in an environment that is supportive of you and is going to be in your corner no matter what.
Also want to say in the team events, enjoy the music selection. That was, as you mentioned, you talk about the energy levels, upbeat, and it was perfect. It was perfect for the different elements and fit the routines beautifully.
Yeah, it definitely gets your heart pumping, and being out there on the mat, having that energy behind you. Everything you've done up until now has been pretty quiet, pretty serious, but this is where you get to let loose, show a bit of your personality, and really just bring it on home and leave it out on the mat.
Well, I think it's funny because I look to my left and you're on your feet. You can't even sit in your seat.
Oh, no. No, why would I?
So right now the judges are going to tabulate the scores. Some have given their 2 sets already and just now waiting for everything else to be finalized. It's going to be an East Texas Baptist win. The only question is, what will the final total look like? As they will take this tri-meet with, again, Stevenson finishing in 2nd, Buffalo State taking 3rd. We'll recap the team scores in a second when we get the Tigers total. Lots to dissect there in that final team event. And as you told us yesterday, each judge has a different part of the mat to keep an eye on. And for East Texas Baptist, they scored a 77.79 for their team event, giving them a grand total of 227.665. So a win by upwards of 18 points. As East Texas Baptist, 227.665. Stevenson at 209.550. Buffalo State at 127.450. Congratulations to the Tigers. A job well done here tonight.
Most definitely. And congratulations to everyone who competed and made it through a long day. And even a tri-meet is super long to get through. So congratulations to everyone that made it through this point, and congrats on a great season full of growth and memories for each athlete here.
And again, we'll do it again tomorrow. Final day of the NCATA D3 tournament. all starting at 10 o'clock with the team final between Mary Hardin Baylor and Trine. 1 against 2, and then right back here for the event finals at 7 o'clock. Jesse, as always, thanks a lot for your time. We'll do it again tomorrow night.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
For Jesse Alexander, our entire crew, Matt Middle saying so long. Good night from the John Book Fieldhouse. You've been watching Day 2 coverage of the NCATA Division III Tournament, Acrobatics and Tumbling on the Falcon Athletic Network.